All right. Switch here. Whoa. How's everybody doing today? I know there's not a lot of us on the stream right now, and that's okay because I never really know when to do these things. I am in the Eastern time zone here in the States, so everybody's all over the place. It'd be nice to kind of get an idea for the ones who have asked multiple times to do these kind of color grading sessions, to know, yeah, where you're at, what time works best, middle of the day, evening, morning, because I just sort of randomly think about doing these things, and I have for a couple of days. So, yeah, so I guess to start the stream off, I like to just talk about the setup, which I know I've done before, but we have the Blackmagic Pocket 6K with the Sigma 18 to 35, no filters or anything on it, and it is running through the cam link into my Mac Mini, and then I have a Focusrite, what is this, the Scarlett whatever, that's got the XLR inputs. It's a MIDI controller or whatever it is, and I have my Rode NT3 running through that. I have an aggregate kind of program that's running through, so I can have some music in the background at the same time, which is kind of a pain to set up, but we did get it set up, so that's cool. Let's just make sure that we actually have music playing here, because I kind of like that, having that in the background like that. So let me know if that's too much or too little or whatnot, and if you can hear me and it's coming through clearly and the music isn't competing with it. I just thought it'd be a nice touch because looks like we have 2 viewers. So so if you're here, say hi. Looks like somebody else said hi. If you have questions, that's fine. So today we are going to be in Davinci Resolve. I'm going to go ahead and switch to that window now. And I think this is what you're seeing. I hope you're seeing this screen. Let's just double check that. Yeah, you're definitely seeing the screen. Okay. You just never really know what's going on. Okay, so here we have just a couple of different clips, nothing super fancy, and they actually all have really different properties as far as what they were shot on and how they were captured, as far as codecs, cameras, lenses, the color science. Everything is different in each of these clips, so I think that's kind of a sort of an interesting thing to go off of when we're just kind of doing some color grading and some basic stuff to give you an idea. A lot of you have asked about Dehancer and just the inner workings of that, so I think we're just going to incorporate Dehancer into all of these clips, and also using the Phantom LUTs by Joel Familaro, which we all love and use. Just talked to Joel recently, and he's got a lot of things in the works that are coming. So if you're already in the family of the Phantom LUTs, then you're already in the right vehicle. So just wait around, and there's going to be some exciting things coming. If you're not, go check them out. I've made a bunch of videos and talked about it religiously over the past 3 years, so you should definitely go check that out. So this first clip that we're going to check out is from a shoot I did with an artist. It was like a workshop. This is Christine Olmsted. This was shot with the Blackmagic Pocket 6K. I believe we shot it, and I can probably look at the metadata for this. So this was shot in ProRes LT light in full 4K. So not in RAW at all, but in a completely flat picture profile. But the reason I shot this project that way is because it was a massive undertaking, and there's no way I was going to shoot this in RAW because it was multiple days with hours and hours of footage. So I had to shoot it in the worst case that I could, so 4K at that 422 LT, and just kind of went with that, so I didn't have to stress so much on the aftermath of having way too much footage. And so let's jump into it. So we have this clip here, and we're just going to jump over to color, of course, and hopefully this all looks okay on your screen. So obviously this wasn't shot in RAW format, so we have no access to camera raw like we usually would have, but we do have access to the primaries and, you know, adjusting anything there. Not a lot of control with, you know, with it being, you know, a light 422, but decent, better than a baked in image. So the first thing I'm gonna do, and you know, everybody kind of has their formula on nodes and how they do it and where they add them, but whatever, I just do whatever I think works best. So it works for me, it might not work for you, so this will just be mainly for you guys to just see a basic flow here of our base image, adding the LUT, moving into Dehancer. And with this one, I think we'll just go ahead and we're gonna add a LUT, and we're gonna go into the Joel Familaro family of phantom LUTs, and we're just gonna go with the neutral. Okay, so we apply this neutral LUT and it looks not good at all, not good. You know, it's definitely underexposed. It's got a lot of green hue to it, which is not great, but we're going to try to fix that, and we're going to go through that together here. No secrets, no fanciness. I didn't even step through this before I started this live stream, so we're doing this together. I usually will mess with the tint. That's usually the main thing. I cannot remember if I had an ND filter on for this, but I do remember what it looked like. So I can just barely add some tint just to get a little bit of that green out first. So that's pretty good. Temperature wise, it was perfect. It was fine. I'm pretty sure I had an ND over it, which gave it a little bit of a color cast. So, you know, there's that. We can obviously go through and, you know, lift some of the other stuff up to get it, you know, prepped for our next voyage into Dehancer. So just playing around with the gamma, and you can always get, I don't know, and you can always get rid of the nodes so you don't have to see that while you're, you know, sitting here playing around with, you know, this is a guessing game for the most part, and I'm not going to mess with contrast. I am going to, some of these are a little more fine-tuned, especially in Resolve, where you notice the shadows and the highlights built into Resolve really affects the actual shadows and highlights everywhere, and you'll see in Dehancer it's not exactly the same. So this is fine. Let's go in and add Dehancer in here, and let's get rid of the nodes. Now it immediately adds this stock Kodak profile, which we're not going to be using on this image, and it automatically puts it enables a bunch of stuff. Let's just disable all that before we kind of get into it. Let me check the stream. I'm really bad about checking the stream. I guess I could have it pulled up on my phone and turn the sound down. I guess we could do it that way, but nobody said anything, so it's all good, but we'll leave that up just in case. Okay, so since we're not using any of these film profiles, I don't have to worry about that. Immediately we're going to work into expanding, and that's where, again, you'll start to see Dehancer does a better job of the actual blacks and whites. I know you really have to look and really pay attention to it, but it does a better job of just not deteriorating the image, I guess is one of the words you could use. And same with this print, which might be the best feature in Dehancer is the print tool with the tonal contrast. And the tonal contrast, it does not affect the color at all. The skin tones. It really just plays off of colors. And the way I like to look at it is if you're watching a film, not just older films, but newer movies or TV shows that are shot with a little bit more of a purpose of wanting it to look like cinema, like film. Tonal contrast is a huge part of that. A lot of the Alexa cameras, the sensors are just, there's nothing that compares to it, and they kind of have that feeling built into the sensor. But with this tonal contrast, you can start to get some of the similarities of that out of your image. Now, in a raw image, it does a lot better. I agree. It doesn't do as well in a ProRes format, but I think, you're not going to be able to tell that much of a difference, especially if this is being uploaded to a digital platform somewhere. You start blowing it up on, a big screen, then you might, notice it a little bit more. But yeah, you can kind of see just the difference. Obviously with this, it darkens the image a little bit, but if you hit that analog range limiter, it brings back just a little bit of that. And so we'll leave that on just because, I don't know, it's just a talking head segment, but it kind of gives it a little more of a pastel texture to it, which is kind of nice. And she's a painter, so kind of makes sense. Then we're going to go down to our color head, and this is where we can even more so fine tune those colors with white balance and tinting. So even though I do that prematurely before I get here to correct it in the raw format, we can go in here and actually do a little bit more. And this is where you can really get lost if that's what you're looking for, to really fine tune. You can really make it look however you want. So I'm not going to do a whole lot there, just clean up those skin tones a little bit. As you could see, it was still shades of green, but I didn't want to put the tint so much over that it affected the rest of the color. So leave it up to this to sort of fine tune the skin tones. And as you can see, it clearly makes a difference. So film grain is the next thing. We turn that on, and automatically, you see a lot of grain. But what Dehancer does that I don't know of any other program that does it this well is gives you this full control of the grain from, shadows, midtones, highlights, the chroma, the amount of the grain, the size of the grain, what type of resolution you want the grain to be in. And this is all a guessing game again as well. Usually what I do is I kind of zoom in and I try to find, where I'd like the grain to be. And this, of course, all has to do with the type of project you're working on. It's your choice. And as we keep moving down, halation, we're not going to mess with on this clip because this is not, I don't think, meant for that. Bloom, we don't really need to do that. You could, as you can see, we'll bring it in mask mode. And what I like to do is just jack all this high up so you can see the mask mode shows you where that bloom is coming through. And there we go. Bring down the save lights. And now you can really see, well, it's pretty obvious there. It looks quite ridiculous, but here's all that. And this is just a good way to edit the bloom if you do want to use it. Is you can see there how much of it is affecting this shot. And since this is a static shot, you can be pretty liberal with the bloom, and it might not be as noticeable that it was something done after the fact. It might look like something done in camera. So as you can see, you definitely got to toy with it. Otherwise it can be a little overbearing, and you just sort of keep playing with it. I'm gonna bring this way down because I don't need it to be that crazy. So again, we've sat here for a few minutes, and this is what we've got. Here is our original image. And let me just close this out so we can see it here. What happened to my color? There it is. So from nothing to that's what you got. So you can always go back, not into love, but you can always go back to your base. And if you want to start fine tuning again, saturation or color boosting, maybe a little more sharpness, if that's what you're looking for a particular project, you could go back. But again, with this type of file, I wouldn't want to push it too much farther than this. I think that's pretty good. So yeah, that's this image. So let's move on to another clip, and this is a really interesting one because well, my computer's freaking out because I know this clip is on like a slower drive. Okay, so this comes from Olive Hours, which if you've followed my channel for a while, then you know about Olive Hours. It was a film produced over the course of like 2 years, and the pandemic kind of, slowed that down. Anyway, it's out. You can go watch it. But I thought this would be a good clip just because it was filmed on the Sony a7S II through the Ninja 5. And actually, let's go back to media so we can see what it says here. It tells us it's a H.264, and it's an MP4. So, you know what? I don't think this was even with the Ninja. It wasn't. So this wasn't even with using the Ninja. So this is straight out of the A7S II in 4K, S-Log 2, all default. I think it was like the Gamut Cine 3. So not S-Log 3 because that was just too much work back then to deal with something that flat. But this is one of my favorite shots of the film. It's sort of a backtracking shot on a gimbal that has kind of this realistic kind of bump to it, and I don't know, it just stood out for me. So anyway, I don't remember how I color graded this, and it was not in Resolve. So this will be the first time going through some footage that was straight out of an A7S II in an MP4 file format, which is not great. It's not great at all. And again, we do not have the raw settings. We're going to do the same thing that we did on the other clip. And we're going to add these labels. And this is just really for you as you're watching, if you need to get an idea of what we're doing here. And I know there is a lot of different ways to do this, and I'm sure some of you may believe that this is the wrong way, and there's different ways to layer things, and sometimes I've seen a million of these things stacked on top of each other. I'm not that advanced, and that's okay. So we're gonna go to our base. I'm not gonna mess with anything on the base yet. I'm just gonna go right into our LUTs. I do not think, let's see, I do have a Sony S-Log 2 to Rec 709, and that looks freaking awful. So we're not going to use that. We're going to skip LUT on this one, and we're going to go straight to Dehancer, because I think that's going to be our best bet, is to just mess with it in Dehancer. And so what we'll do is it wants you to choose a camera, and it only has A7 III or A7R. We'll just do A7 III because I feel like that's pretty much the closest we're going to get. Okay, never mind, we can't. This is the first time I'm using this with a clip from an old Sony, and none of this is HLG, so we cannot do that. We could check this one. Oh, there we go, S-Log 2 S Gamut. Okay, so we can use this, and we can check some of these, and it did adjust the image a little bit, as you could see. It just put on like a really basic Rec 709, I think. So let's see. I think we'll just leave that like it is. Yeah, we'll leave that. So now we're gonna go down to these. Somehow a mosquito got in here. Okay. We're going to go ahead, we'll hit enable on this so we can start looking at these different film stocks, which there's so many of them, and who knows which one we're going to choose. We can just, go through a couple of different ones just to give you an idea of just, hitting one and going with it. So all these Kodaks, the Eastman, you got Ektar. Oh man, you can all the different Portras, all the old Vision film stocks, and then you can even push and pull it. Keep seeing that mosquito. All right, so let's see. Let's go with a more. This is always fun to figure out exactly what you're gonna do with your image. That's a little green for me. I'd like it to be this kind of pastel-y is what we did before. So let's just go with this one, and let's just work off of that. And as you can see, it just starts to give it a little character. You can see it takes away a lot of the color in that pink and just desaturates it, which we could bring back if we want. We forgot to turn off film grain, which probably helps. We'll move into expanding, and we'll probably darken it a little bit and then bring out some of the white a tiny bit, because that bathtub, and you get a lot of black back here, which is fine. We can kind of keep that dark. We don't need to see anything back there. Then we'll go to tonal contrast, and I don't know how this image is going to react to tonal contrast, because it's kind of a baked in codec, but I think it's doing pretty good, I guess. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, I think it's just dealing with skin tones. And we'll put that range limiter on, and see, you can bring this density of the color back in, so you can get some of the color back just from the print with the density. And then we'll move down to color head, which we have already done before. I don't know if I see any colors that really stand out that I want to get rid of. So I might just leave it, here you can start to give it a little bit of a more warm or cool tone. I would give it a little bit more warm. So move that yellow, and then maybe bring the red a little further over. So it gives you, over here it's really warm. Obviously it's dark back here. This green is really true to color in my eyes. And if I can remember correctly, this all looks just like it did on the day we shot it. So we'll leave that alone. We'll go down to film grain. And this we actually can have a lot of grain, because it's just the nature of this scene. So you can start to see how much grain that you can, I mean, you can obviously overkill it, big time. We're not going to go that far. So there's that. Now halation we can mess with on here. And as you see, you can probably faintly see, if you just look at her face when I take it on and off, a little bit of red, a little bit of that light red. And if we go to mask mode and do this same thing, you'll start to see all the halation. Looks kind of freaky, but yeah, so we'll do that, and we're gonna diffuse it as much as we can. We just want a tiny bit, just a little bit around that bathtub. For some reason, as you say, all that white that's coming off the rim of that bathtub is what we're really seeing. So see, you take it off and you see how powerful it can really be, and then you say, okay, well, I don't really want that much halation, but thank you. So adds a totally different look and feel to it. I'm not actually going to leave that on. I just going to show you that, but bloom, we're not going to do that either. Vignetting, this is probably one that you could definitely do that. And what I typically do is I'll feather this in, take the feather out, and then change the aspect and the size, and then that's when we'll kind of, you could even do it this way and feather it out. There you go. You can do something like that, and you can mess with the X and Y axis and move it around if you need to. But yeah. So any questions? Okay, no. Right. So this clip was shot, I don't even know, maybe almost 3 years ago, and so there you have it. There's that clip. So let's move on. We got a couple more clips to go through. Hopefully, you'll learn something. Here, I don't know. Let's go back to scene. Oh, it's me again. Okay. All right, we'll take a little break here. I'm just going to make sure the stream is healthy, and it is. Okay, 2 likes, 2 concurrent viewers. Wow, unbelievable. Yeah, if you're here, say what's up. Ask a question while we're live. That's pretty much the best time to do it. And if you're watching this after it's live, let me know when or where we should be doing live streams, because we could do them anytime we want. It's not that big a deal. So let's go back to our scene here, and let's move into a very recent shoot. This was with a hairstylist and colorist, and this is a model who was getting their hair done for the shoot. And I shot this all in RAW, and I did that just because I kind of had, you know, some of that creative control in the project, and so I wanted to do that. And I also shot it with the newly released magnetic variable ND mist filter system from Freewell, and it kind of fit perfectly with a project like this that was high fashion beauty hair with a model. It just, you know, it basically fit perfectly in that scenario. And so now obviously we're going to see that we have access to the raw file that was in Gen 5 with an ISO of 640. And if we look at our curves here, they're kind of freaky. It's definitely a little underexposed. No lighting. This is natural light. I believe this was naturally lit. Forgot what time, if this was after the sun went down. I don't remember. If it was lit, it was with the light that we're using right here, the VL150 at probably about 50. And I believe it was, I don't know, it was probably 3 to 5 feet up, kind of at an angle away from her. And this is after, you know, the hair was, this is kind of the very ending of the shoot when the hair was all done. So what we'll do here, just like we've done at all the others, is we're going to add these nodes and label them the base. Play the bass, play the bass. All right, slap it a bass, slap it a bass. Dehancer, okay. Dehancer, okay, Dehancer. All right, so we're not going to mess with the bass yet, but we are going to go to the LUTs again, and we're going to go to my good friend here, Joel. And I don't know. I guess we'll go Utopia. We'll just go off of Utopia. And again, you were not there, so you don't know that wall, that's not the color of this wall. That was, whoa, oh. Interesting. I've actually never seen it do that. Never seen it do that before. So it just automatically took it off there, huh? That's new. Do not know it does that. Huh. All right, well, we'll figure that out later. We're gonna go in here now. We're gonna look at this. Let's get rid of the nodes. And this was not the color of the wall, so I'm automatically assuming that the tint, you know, as we adjust the tint, you'll see it was supposed to be a more white wall. And look how high up I have to go using that filter. Again, this is personal preference, but that's closer to what it really looked like, and that's definitely what Hannah looked like, the model. This, you know, that really copper red hair, red lipstick, and her complexion, everything. This really does it justice. So now let's go into Dehancer, and again, we're using the Utopia, so we have to remember that we use Utopia. Obviously, you could layer these, you know, these prints on. I don't think there's anything wrong with that if there's a certain look that you're going for. But for our purposes, I mean, I really like this one. I mean, we might just go with it. I mean, look at that. I really like that. Let's just go with that. Do we need to select this? Let's see what happens though, because I don't know if I need to do this. No. So we'll change it back to Rec 709. So I think because we already applied a LUT, we don't need to go in and then add a Rec 709 on top of it. It's just overkill and it looks terrible. The black points, again, you can see that this is just, you know, manipulating and to what you want, you know, and I think right now my face is down here where the scopes are, but you can really, you know, start to see how much you can expand. I mean, even right here, I'm not blown out anywhere. So, but I would obviously not go that high up. So I think I want a little contrasty, so we'll leave it like right there, because the tonal contrast is gonna kill it a little bit, and then we'll raise the exposure a tiny bit. Yeah, there we go. We'll leave the analog range limiter off on that one. The only thing, some people, no, I think, initially before I adjusted, I thought here seemed like a hot spot, but even if you look at the scopes, that's not really the case. All of this is just this big open space, and where she's at, it looks pretty good, I'd say. So we'll leave that, and if we just look at our original, it's not letting me. Well, we could just turn Dehancer off, I guess. Yeah. So without Dehancer, adding a little bit of that film look, and film grain, not going to do a whole lot. Let's just take it down a little bit. Now the bloom on this, we're definitely going to use. So I'll even amplify it and then diffuse it. So you can see right there, if you look in this area here, you see the bloom start to come out, and I'll do that. And we definitely want to diffuse. Okay, I like that. Not going to do any vignetting. Film breathe, gate weave. Again, these are unique decisions. If you want some of that natural film movement that, with the film reel and the film moving through it, you're going to get some natural, out of focus, in a focus, and you can dial that in exactly how you want. And so, yeah, there's our just utopia LUT. And then if we add, we put that Cine Still film stock on it, which again, I don't think it's the orthodox thing to do, but we did it. And so I'm not sure what happened here, but here's our base, and there's when we added the LUT, and here is with Dehancer and all the fun stuff that we did there. If we just scroll through, you'll see it holds up. The light changes for sure. We're still well underneath clipping even here. If this was just one take through, I'd leave it, but I think naturally I'd go through and change some of this, and bring it down just a little bit, especially, just for fun, we can move in and change that, bring the exposure down. We can definitely play with that, bring the white point, and just make it look different, but I think it still looks damn good. It definitely looks good. Let's see what other clips. I think that's pretty good. I think we did a lot of clips here. I don't know what other questions anybody would have, or do they have. But I could sit here all day and play around with Resolve and Dehancer, and hopefully you looking at this maybe gives you some ideas. And if you were kind of hesitant to use Dehancer or even Resolve, because I'm still learning every day. So it's just a lot of fun. If I was a painter, I'd be painting all day, but I'm not, so I'm color grading. And I think it's a very similar medium, especially if you're working in these big codec or raw files, that you're able to sit down and yes, manipulate it in so many different ways, but really start to understand how the colors react, not just with other colors, but with skin tones, with the shadows and the highlights, and different scenes with different lights and natural light, and there's just too many scenarios to go through. So I think it's fun to do these every once in a while, pick out a few clips and just run with it, and see what happens, because I try not to do any pre-work on this, because I think it's a little bit more real for me to sit down and just go through it. Obviously a little faster than what I would do normally on my own, but for the sake of time, your time, my time, and being on a live stream, that we hustle up on it a little bit more. But yeah, so with that, let's see, we've been live for almost 40 minutes. Wow. If you somehow stumble upon this video or this live stream, go check out some of my other videos. I've done videos on color grading. I've done other live streams. But yeah, consider subscribing. Drop a question below. Say hi. Go check out the Create Together podcast, because that's where I just talk with my buddy Caleb about random film stuff and life and things like that. It's not as technical as we get here, which is a good thing because we need a break sometimes from nerding out on all the tech specs and all the crazy stuff. So yeah, I think that's it. We're gonna end the stream, sadly enough, but yeah, I hope you have a good day. Stay safe, and